That's an interesting question because as I said, we introduced it last semester, and the quickest way to do it was just introduce it as assessments. But what we found was, and I didn't give too much information beforehand. All I did was just give them the rubric, here's the assessment, and off you go. And so obviously the students were not very clear about it. Some of the students didn't get it very well. But what we did find was the rubrics, the standards are made very explicit. So although they didn't understand the details of what went into the rubric, they knew what standard they needed to work towards. And therefore, the number of emails which came back to us reduced because so there was no guesswork there. They didn't know what standards or what the teacher expects from them and things like that. So it was very explicit. So if they wanted a HD, these were the standards they had to work towards. So in that sense, that was very helpful. And also I observed that overall the standard of assessments improved tremendously. So with the same type of case study the semester earlier, and if I compared that with the semester, the current semester, there was a huge difference in the quality of work submitted. And that was not just within my course, all my colleagues in all the other courses, because all of us used rubrics and they all had a similar experience, and the standard improved a lot. So that was a good thing. And the other thing was, it was also easier to mark because the standards were there, and then people didn't have to think about the subjective element we tried to reduce in that sort of context. And the other useful thing for us was there's some of our courses are very large and we have multiple markers, so then sometimes it can become a bit difficult to achieve consistency, but with standard rubrics we found it much easier to achieve consistency in terms of marks and things like that, or grades rather. And this semester I've introduced self-assessment using the same rubric as a compulsory component of the assignment, and I've put in a 25% weighting for the self-assessment. And although it seems a large proportion of the assessment task, because in the beginning, oh, that's an easy thing to do. Why is it worth 25%? I said, because then you're actually thinking about what you're doing and thinking about, are you really meeting the expectations and things like that. So, and I'm currently marking my assignments and I'm more than halfway through, and I'm amazed by the insight students have exhibited, and their assessments in most cases are quite similar to what I have given them. And that I thought was very interesting. I mean, there may be one or two columns here and there, but overall the grade difference is not that much. But as you can imagine, research also shows that self-assessments are not very useful in learning. That's probably because they don't have an insight. But I found that very helpful when I give them feedback, because then I know where to position my feedback. Because then I know that this person probably needs a bit more explicit sort of feedback and say, these are the areas you've actually not understood or not covered, and this is where you need to focus a bit more. There's people who are insightful. Some people are very hard on themselves, and that shows through as well. And then that is an opportunity for me to go and boost their confidence. Say, actually, you have met this criteria, but so this is where you need to improve, but you've actually done well in this area. So in both ways, I think I'm finding the self-assessment using the RSD rubric very helpful.